love it if you were all over it. Anyway.
Greetings, Groovers. How are you doing? Welcome to Full Record Jacket with Phil and Ben. Am I sounding clear on this mic, Ben? Can you hear me?
Yeah. With your perfect radio voice, how am I sounding?
You sound Benish. You sound fine.
Cool.
You've switched your main microphone on, which always helps.
Yes, it does.
So it's another of those random chats about music and stuff. And have you listened to any albums, Ben? Have you listened to any big statements by any major artists?
Well, do you know what? Actually, I have listened to a few albums, but it's funny that you mention big statements because this show has been full of big statements in the past, hasn't it, Philster? That country and western is the greatest music ever made.
Believe it or not, folks, that statement was actually made on this show.
Yeah. Born Slippy and You Only Get What You Give are the best one-hit wonders of the 1990s.
Okay.
Phil's favourite music is reggae.
Oh, yeah, that comes up a lot, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I will read out a big statement to you, Philster. And this came from one of our listeners, a young Mr. Philip Smith from Rugby United Kingdom. And he wrote to me and he said, "Dear Ben, gotta say, you're pretty good. In fact, better than good. In fact, I think you're the greatest. And I'm saying this is it. For my money, this is the greatest soul track of all time." And he sent me a link to Marvin Gaye's I Want You.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big statement, Philster.
Yeah, maybe I should have said it's my favourite soul track of all, because I think it's my favourite soul track of all time. But I wanted to just be a bit provocative and make Ben think it was important.
I listened to it earlier. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the sort of, I don't know, it's got like a little murkiness to it. Is that right? It's got like a...
Yeah, possibly. It's got that kind of... It's not like a super clear, super bright production, is it? But it's kind of... It's got a smoothness to it.
It almost sounds like almost neo-noir soul. I've just invented a genre there.
Yeah.
But it had that sort of feeling of a little bit of disconnect with it. I don't know if that's just me or the fact I was lathering up my body at the time in the shower.
Maybe. I really like Marvin Gaye's vocal performance on that. I think he gives it a lot, but maybe it's a grower. But I just think it's...
A grower, not a shower, Phil.
It's one of those where he kind of, kind of combines his sort of romantic side with and there's a part of maybe a bit of a gospel influence in his vocal as well. But it's kind of... It's definitely one where he was being very passionate. I mean, there's other songs like that by him as well, of course. But I don't know, why do I like it so much? I think I do like the whole vibe about it. It's got that kind of late night American city.
Yeah.
You could imagine playing that song while you were driving through New York at night and there's all the skyscrapers around.
And you just got the steam of the day coming up off the streets.
That's what it is. To me, it's like the perfect sort of 70s soul song. And it's not been overplayed like maybe one or two others have.
No. Do you know what I thought? One of my first thoughts on it while I was lathering myself up in the shower, listening to it, was I could quite easily see it on a Quentin Tarantino soundtrack.
It could be. Now, I think I think that song has been put on quite a few Marvin Gaye compilations. I think I first heard it on a compilation. It's the title track of a 1976 album called I Want You. But I think a lot of people, if they haven't heard the Marvin Gaye version, they may have, if they go back to the 90s, they're as old as us, Ben, they may know the song itself from the version that Madonna did with Massive Attack. Do you remember that?
Oh, is that? Yes, I do. Is that song? Is it?
It's the same song. It was the opening track on her Ballads album, the one called Something to Remember. Remember that one? Came out in 90, I think it was 95. And that was one of the new songs on there, and that was with Massive Attack. And I always thought that was a really good track, the Madonna Massive Attack collaboration, I thought worked really well. It's a shame they didn't do more. I think they could have made a whole good album, but
Would it
that was
then
kind
been a
of
bit similar to Ray of Light album though?
maybe
Would it
maybe
have-
it could have been. Maybe they could have gone in a slightly different style somehow.
Yeah.
But if they've been doing original songs, but that's kind of like the trip hop version, and it's got I think a very good vocal. She does it very well. I think it's a great Madonna record. But
I do love
don't.
my trip hop.
But it doesn't have the intensity of Marvin Gaye's performance. Of course, she's not going to match Marvin Gaye for soulful intensity in that style. So, I say it's a really good cover. I don't think it replaces the original. I don't think it's trying to compete with the original. It's a different interpretation, a different style. But so people may know the song from that. But so it's so different that you don't always realise it's actually the same song, do you? So
No. A bit like Mike Flowers' Pop Wonderwall and the song Wonderwall.
So anyway, so you want to basically open this up, don't you? Ben? You want to ask people, am I right that that's the greatest soul track
is
of
that
all
the greatest soul track of all time?
Well, of course there are so many other contenders for that, and you might want something that's more, somebody belting something out a bit more. You might want to hear Aretha Franklin, one of her
which
classics.
you have this week, haven't you? Or
I've
bought some.
I haven't got it yet, but I bought some Aretha. I think, somebody might go for that. Somebody might go for, I know there's so many contenders, aren't there? Somebody might go for something like Let's Stay Together by Al Green.
Let's stay together.
Other ones by Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing, Let's Get It On, What's Going On, Heard It Through the Grapevine. They would be contenders, I would think.
Yeah.
Something Smokey Robinson's maybe got a few, Tracks of My Tears. Tears of a Clown, a few other ones. And then Stevie Wonder might be on that list.
Wasn't it his birthday this week?
Did you wish him a happy birthday?
I did. I wrote a song for it. I won't sing it for you because I don't want to get ripped off.
It was. I think Stevie Wonder was 75 this week.
75. Stevie, baby.
And he's coming to, is it Hyde Park, I think, this summer?
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I think I've got 2 Stevie Wonder albums.
They're great. Have you got are they 70s classic ones?
Let me have a look. Let me have a look, son. Let me have a look. Let me have a look at my collection.
Have you got? You've probably got songs in the key. You've probably got songs in the key of life, and either Inner Visions or Talking Book. If you've got,
I put in Steve, and it's come up with Cat Stevens. I've got 2 Cat Stevens albums. Can I have a guess what they are?
Oh crikey! I'm terrible at remembering the names of Cat Stevens albums.
It's because nobody remembers the names of Cat Stevens albums.
Is it the very best of Cat Stevens?
It isn't the very best of Cat Stevens. It's Cat Stevens, Buddha and the Chocolate Box,
right?
And Catch a Bullet 4. So Stevie Wonder. I've got Essential Stevie Wonder.
These don't count, by the way. These are compilations. These don't count.
And what did you say, the one earlier?
Well, Songs in a Key of Life would be a
That's
contender.
The one,
yeah. The double one.
Yeah, the double album. That's the one with Pastime Paradise on that Coolio went and uplifted, wasn't it, for Gangster's Paradise?
Okay, yeah.
So
it's one of the great double albums. It's
of all time.
It's one. It makes those lists. Yeah.
Yeah. Great double albums. Maybe that's something we should do something on.
Did we not do that before? Or do we do live albums? We did live albums.
Live albums, yeah. Maybe we should do double albums. I know we'd have one the same because it was one of my favourite albums from 95. And mainly because around that time I had glandular fever. But it was The Gold Experience by Prince.
Yeah, does that count as a double album?
It's a triple album, isn't it? Or was that Emancipation?
That's Emancipation.
I thought Gold was a double album. Is it not a double album?
Well, Gold was put on one CD. I think it's about 65 minutes long. So maybe I'm not sure that has the Gold Experience ever been put onto vinyl? Maybe it has. And it
I
would
don't
probably
know. I'd
have
have
to.
to.
It probably would have to go on 2 vinyls.
I'm not
But
going to look because then I might have to buy it, and
you
then
might
I
have
won't be able
to.
to feed the world for a week. So,
No, I mean
but
the standard classic double albums are
the
going back
White
to
Album,
yeah. I mean Bob Dylan Blonde on Blonde is probably the first rock pop double album, and then
Smash
you
It's
got
'88.
the White Album, Exile on Main Street, Physical
Yeah,
Graffiti. People put those on there. The Stevie Wonder one. Some
I'm
people
trying
will
to
put
think of a double album.
Pink Floyd, The Wall. Some will put on there the Who, Tommy, or Quadrophenia. What else goes on the double album lists? Did I just say Physical Graffiti by Zeppelin? I said that, didn't
You
I?
did, yeah, yeah.
What else goes on double albums? Sign of the Times by Prince is the
That
one
was
that
a double. I've got
gets
that one.
talked about most. That's a one. What are there's loads more. I can't think of what they all are now.
Well, I've just put
The
in double
Clash,
albums.
London Calling, The Clash.
Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
Yeah, the Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy.
I'm
Around that
just having a
time as
look.
well,
Oh,
Stadium Arcadium, the Red Hot Chili
I
Peppers.
do know one. I do know one. A really great album from about 2002, 2003 by Outkast, Speakerbox, and The Love Below. What a
Okay.
great double album that was, because it was just literally 2 separate albums. All Things Must Pass.
Yeah, that's a double. You could
And then you've got, I've
double album
just,
with the bonus disc. That was really, yeah.
yeah, look, I've got a list of them here. Bitches Brew by Miles Davis.
Of course, yeah.
69 Love Songs, The Magnetic Fields.
Yeah, do you know I've never actually listened to that one.
No, I think I
It's a,
did when we were doing our greatest album of the 1990s.
it's one of those
We
one-off albums because he never really did very much more that was prominent, did he? But
no, The River, Bruce Springsteen.
of course, I don't think of that
Yeah,
one.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John.
Yeah, that popped in my head. That's another one that people list.
Daydream Nation.
Sonic Youth, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's the sort of
And,
American
and
alternative one.
one that I can actually see from here in my collection, Tupac, All Eyes on Me.
I was going to say there must be a few hip hop ones, and I probably
Yeah,
don't
because I think
know.
Life After Death by the Notorious B.I.G. was a double album as well. So they've only got 5 songs. They've just got an album's worth of those little skits.
People talking and yeah,
Yeah. Did you like those? Did skits in a the Payback, James Brown, hip hop skits? Where do we stand on them in between hip hop tracks? I know
well,
this is a complete left turn here.
I don't listen to enough hip hop to really have this as an issue, but then other artists have put skit type things in between songs. They can. I mean, it's a case of if you're going to listen to the whole album, then maybe you should listen to those because they're part of it. But then
Yeah,
if you're just picking your tracks out, then you're not going to put them on, are you? You're just going to
no.
pick the
I'll
songs.
tell you one double album that I do own and has disappointed me because I ordered it a couple of years ago from Discogs, and I obviously didn't read the description properly, and it was the 1973 album by Yes, Tales from the Topographic Oceans, or
Oh, prog.
Topographic, Topographic.
Topographic, yeah. Bit
Um,
of prog.
I didn't realise when I was sorting out my record. Remember a couple of months ago when I sent you that picture of me going, "Oh God, I wish I hadn't started this." Because I
Yeah.
was sorting out my vinyl collection. Well, I picked that up. It's only got 1 disc in it. The second
So,
disc isn't there. So then I went back through my purchases and I looked at the description. It does say in the description, disc 2 is missing.
so you only got half a tale of a topographic
I've only
ocean.
got half to, and I haven't listened to it, so I've not even listened to that half a tale. So it's a yeah. But you asked the question, Philster, all of
Yeah.
14 minutes and 10 seconds ago of what have you been listening to this week? Do you want to know?
Yeah, what have you been listening to, Benjamin?
Well, weirdly, now there's a few. I've been listening to a lot of sort of singles, but I mock my one of my current colleagues that he's a stripper in his spare time, and for some reason on my playlist this week. But do you remember the song by? Do you remember the boy band? They were an R&B boy band from the UK called MN8. Do you remember them?
I may have heard the
I got
name,
a
but
little something for you.
I remember that song. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been listening to that a lot for some reason, and then
Good.
obviously a few football things have been in because "Can't Get You Out of My Head" by Kylie Minogue, because I couldn't get over the fact that song is it's not 23 years old, which is mad.
What the
But
Kylie
it
Minogue? Hang on, what year was that?
"Can't Get You Out of My Head." I'm sure it's 2002. I think.
Oh, okay.
I'm
So it
sure
would
it
be
could have been
yes.
2001.
It's early 2000. Okay, so yes, it would be 20 years
But
old.
that was
Yeah.
really because obviously it was the football season for my football team came to an end this week. But there was on Coventry City socials. There was I can't spell. Just want to know when it did come out. Oh no, I've pressed back. One of the Coventry City players started singing 2001. It's 24 years old, Phil. That has blown my mind. 24 years old. Came out on the 8th of September 2001. That is mad. But anyway, on Coventry City socials, they had one of the players started singing the la 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 la, and Kylie Minogue ended up commenting on it. So yeah, so I listened to that, and then obviously being a Coventry fan, I've listened quite a few times to "We Live and Die in These Towns" by The Enemy, which comes from an okay album. That Enemy album. I didn't really listen to them after that. I didn't find them. But also on my list to listen to this week, I've been listening to a bit of Paul Oakenfold as well. And that led me into listening to Crazy Town. Do you remember Crazy Town? She's my butterfly, sugar lady.
Yeah.
Come, my lady, come, my lady. I've had a very eclectic mix, but when it comes to albums, because like I said, I've had some singles in there. But I've listened to a bit of Eminem. And then, do you remember in one of the last shows we had, I asked, are the Verve from Wigan? Well, that made me look into other bands from the Wigan area. And do you remember the band, The Music?
I do remember there was an act called The Music, but I never heard the music.
Well, I always thought that they were from Wigan. So I thought, I know, I'll listen to The Music. Turns out, when I actually researched it, they're not from Wigan. They're from Kippax in Wakefield or Yorkshire. So I was completely wrong on that one. So I spent a little while listening to that album thinking, I am listening to one of Wigan's finest. Turns out, I wasn't at all. So, but that's a really good album. Have you ever listened to that album? It's the one with like the circle thing on the... That's very good. Very, very good. I've listened to a bit of Bombay Bicycle Club. You ever listened to them?
Well, I've never listened to any of their records, but I have seen them perform on TV at Glastonbury, and I always thought they were pretty good, but I'd never
Yeah.
actually went any
Yeah,
further.
I have, yeah. So I've been listening to Bombay Bicycle Club. I had the blues, but I shook them off. That album, I think that was their debut album from 2009. So I've had that on Filster, and then I was listening to, where is it? It must be in here because that's where. And then I listened to a little bit of this because I messaged you and we played Guess the Album. Me and Phil, a little bit like kids. We will often play little games on WhatsApp with each other of Guess the Album. And it was this album here. Obviously, this hasn't been opened yet, but I listened to it on Spotify by NRBQ. This is their album from, I think, 2014. And I thought, there must be a newish band. They've been going since the late 70s. I mean, to be fair, this guy here looks like he's been going since the late 70s. But yeah, I've never heard of them before, Philster. So I'll give
They've
that a
been
little
around
bit
a
of a
while,
listen.
though. They've been around a long while, though, haven't they?
Yeah, since they formed in the 70s. So I've literally never heard of them. And then
I think
I've still
Elvis
been,
Costello is a fan of them.
oh, is he? And then
Mm.
I have been listening still because it's still going to make a weatherman one day. I've got to get this right. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, Phil. I'm going to trace the line. Oh,
It's the
yes.
Smiths' debut album again.
I've still got that on because I'm trying to listen to it fully, and so I haven't moved that off the turntable yet. And then finally, Phil, I listened to the new Stereophonics album. Make them laugh, make them cry, make them. I can't remember what the rest of the album's called. Make them cry, make them laugh, make them cry, make them wait. So, which is more like an extended EP because I think it's only 8 tracks long. So, which
Yeah.
is that unusual for an album? It's 20. I've just brought it up now. It's 29 minutes and 45 seconds long, which is like an EP almost, isn't it?
Yeah, some old LPs are 30, 35 minutes long. In fact, what's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
one by... I'm trying to think of a major artist who had a very short LP. I'll tell you who had one. Bob Dylan. He did Nashville Skyline
Oh,
in
is that quite sure?
1969.
What
I
about the
think it's
Beatles'
about
first album? That can't be particularly long because it's.
half an hour,
Oh,
but the Bob Dylan one is 27 minutes.
oh really? I
Yeah.
wonder. I
Um,
wonder. Here we go, Philster. To the nearest minute, I'm going
I
to
know A
type
Hard
in
Day's Night is about 30 minutes.
what is the shortest album runtime of all time.
Oh, well, I've no idea. It depends what you classify as an album, though, doesn't it?
I'm going to put it into
There was a few made that were about 20 minutes long in the old days. So
What is
some
the
little 20
shortest
minutes.
album ever made? According to the shortest album ever released, according to the Guinness World Records, is the world's shortest album released by Earache Records. It's a compilation of extremely short bursts of grindcore music, so it's right up your alley, Philster. And the album clocks in at 82.8 seconds. It includes 13 tracks, some as short as 1.9 seconds. I'm not being funny. That isn't a track, that's a noise. If I went, "Meh," that is not a track, that is a noise. One they shows what napalm deaths you suffer, and others up to 13.5 seconds. That is not an album. I'm sorry, that's not an album. So that's rubbish.
I've just randomly thought of something, but it's random. I'll maybe save it.
Well, here you go. X has done a proper list here. The shortest
Okay.
albums for Weezer, the Green Album, 28 minutes and 20 seconds.
So these are proper albums with proper
These
actual
are proper
songs on.
albums. Yeah. 2, Green Day, Father of All, 26 minutes and 16 seconds.
So when did Green Day release that album?
2020.
Okay, so is that one that they made specifically made more in terms of vinyl? Because we've gone full circle, haven't we? Because back in the 70s, 80s, they weren't making albums more than about 45 minutes long. You occasionally got one that was 50 minutes long, and they squeezed that
Yeah,
onto
yeah.
the vinyl. But then, of course, in the CD era, they started making them longer and longer, and you started to get these 75-minute albums, or even pushed it beyond up to 80 minutes, near enough. And then there was a reaction to this. Of people said it was CD bloat. It was they're making the albums too long just for the hell of it. They weren't
Yeah,
paring
to fill,
down
fill
the
the
songs.
space.
Filling the space, give people perceived value, but sometimes the albums meandered on too long, etc. And then we had the vinyl resurgence, and then it was like, oh, we'll have to make their album so it can fit on the vinyl again. And
So you
so
don't have to
now,
press 2.
yeah, and then we're going to stream it anyway. Of course, in the days of vinyl only, nobody really measured how long the album was, did they? You didn't.
No.
you didn't really measure whether it was half an hour or 40 minutes. You just put the album on and played it. And a lot of the time, people probably had no idea how long the albums were. And then in the CD era, the CD immediately told you how long it was as soon as you put it in.
Yeah, so
So
you
that
knew
kind of
instantly.
so then they wanted to give people this perceived value of bigger number. And now we've gone back to the vinyl lengths again. But of course, on streaming, the services will tell you how long the album is. But
Yeah.
I think it's quite good that we've gone back to the shorter album, because it does stop people making them long unless they've really done something good, which I think is probably the way to go.
Do you want the rest of this list? Do you want the rest? The
Go on.
last seven. At
I'll stop
3,
waffling.
the Kinks, kind of Kinks, 27 minutes and 37 seconds.
Right.
At 4, the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, 30 minutes and 10 seconds.
Okay.
At 5, Oasis Hanger Oner from 94. Evan Dando's 5th album by the Lemonheads. It's a Shame About Ray.
I thought you were telling me about some Oasis album I'd never heard of. Oh,
No, no.
Oasis Hanger On. Sorry,
He was hanging around with them a lot back in that mid-90s period. But Shame About Ray is only 29 minutes and 46 seconds.
Okay.
Now, quite surprised you didn't bring this one up. It's a 3rd album by an artist from 1980.
Third album by an artist in 1980 that was only about half an hour long.
Yes.
It's not Kate Bush.
No.
Trying to think who would have made a third album around that time. Third album in 1980. Oh, Dirty Mind by Prince.
It is Dirty Mind by Prince.
He had a dirty little mind, didn't he? So what?
He liked Black Pants as well.
What? Yeah, that was about half an hour.
8 tracks as well. That album.
Yeah.
So at 7, Bob Dylan, Nashville Skyline, 28:14. This isn't ranking them in length. This is they've just put together 10 albums for the shortest day of the year.
I said it was 27, didn't I? I must have misremembered that. I said it was 27, didn't I?
Yeah. So at number 8, they've got Nick Drake and Pink Moon, 28:22 seconds. The Ramones,
That makes
29
sense.
minutes and 4 seconds.
Well, the songs are very short, aren't they, the Ramones? So that makes sense.
Yeah, now I think that this is the shortest album on this list. That's 28 minutes, 26 minutes, 27 minutes, 30, 29, 30, 28, 28, 29. Right, number 10.
Are they not ranked in any kind of order then?
No. They've basically done a list because it was the shortest day of the year. So 10 albums that you can squeeze in. So at 10 is an album by an artist that you are very fond of. And it comes in at a whopping 23 minutes and 58 seconds.
When you say I'm fond of them, are you being serious or sarcastic?
No, I'm being serious. It's an artist that you have tried to convince me to enjoy.
23
on
minutes.
numerous occasions.
Less than 24 minutes.
Less than 24 minutes.
Oh, is it one of the Beach Boys albums?
It is one of the Beach Boys albums.
Is it... hang on, let me think which one it is. No, it's either... I think it's either Smiley Smile or Wild Honey. I think I'm going to go for Wild Honey.
I tell you what, there's a reason why you've got that massive head. Because it is Wild Honey.
Geek-tastic.
Geek? Dude, you've gone full on a massive geek there.
Forgot about that one. I forgot about the Beach Boys having some of those short albums in the late 60s.
Yeah. So there you go. There's some short albums for you. What have you had on this week?
I'll tell you what I listened to last night on headphones. Oh, do you want to try and guess what it is? Okay, so it's an album that came out in 1970.
Oh.
And it was originally it was a double album when it came out. This is a single CD, but it was a double album when it came out.
Have we mentioned it already today?
No, we haven't mentioned this today. Now, you've mentioned an album by one of the artists who's sort of connected to this album, though he's not on it. There's a kind of a connection to him with this album, but a very well-known person. But anyway, let's get the story. I was listening to... No. I was listening, it's not Phil Collins. Although Phil Collins has a really loose connection to
Oh, there
that
we
as
go.
well, but it's a really, really, really loose connection that came out some years afterwards. But you'd have to be a real geek to know that. I was comparing the CD, which I bought in 1996, and which was listed as a remastered CD.
Yeah.
There's been nine different CD issues of this album. I bought the one, and then I was comparing it to the 2011 40th anniversary edition, which is I was listening to it in high definition on Amazon Music, and some people claim that's the best digital mastering of the album. Now, I was listening on my Sennheiser headphones through my Marantz streamer. I couldn't tell much difference, to be honest. I didn't feel I needed to get rid of my CD, so I
Yeah.
just obviously I'm not that much of an audiophile. Anyway, that's irrelevant. What's the album? There was a love triangle at the centre of this album.
It's not Fleetwood
In,
Mac then.
no, but it's kind of I know what you're thinking of along the lines of relationships between the band members and stuff. There's an element of that behind the inspiration of this album. There's a story about some some of the most famous rock stars of all time, and them and a woman being involved. I talk about two of the very biggest names of this era.
Is it Rolling Stones?
It's not the Rolling Stones, but you're on the right level of famousness.
It's not. Obviously, it's not the Beatles. Eric Clapton.
It's not the Beatles.
It's one of the Beatles.
There's a Beatle involved, but he's not on the album, but he's involved in the backstory of the album.
Is it Eric Clapton?
It is Derek and the Dominos and Layla.
Yes, because didn't Eric Clapton go off with George Harrison's girlfriend or something?
His wife.
That was it. And they were still friends after that, weren't they?
Still friends after that. I was watching a documentary the other day. The reason I listened to this because I was watching a documentary that had been on a few weeks ago on the BBC iPlayer. Eric Clapton, Life in 12 Bars. And they put it on as part of it. They'd had a Clapton night because when he was 80, he was 80. Was it last month or March?
Anyway, he was 80?
He was 80 not long ago.
Oh,
so I was watching this documentary. I've been watching it in bits. And it got to the Layla era.
What, when you say in bits, you're like, oh, God, I can't believe he's 80.
I just, 20 minutes at a time because it goes on for a couple of hours. Anyway.
You were getting too emotional.
The rough story behind this album is, if you want to hear the full story behind this album, the American girl on YouTube, Abigail DeVoe, she does Vinyl Monday. It's one of her favourite hours. If you type Abigail DeVoe, Vinyl Monday, Layla, she's done a whole programme, whole show about the Layla album. It'll give you far more depth than I can. But basically, shall I tell you the story in a nutshell? Eric Clapton married Pattie Boyd. She was one of the most famous models in the UK in the mid-60s. Eric Clapton became a bit infatuated with her. Then, and he was mates, of course, with Clapton. And he appeared. Of course, Eric Clapton played on the George Harrison "All Things Must Pass" album. In fact, the George Harrison album more or less put this band together because a lot of the musicians who played on the Clapton album, became Derek and the Dominos. And then I can't remember the exact story now, but Clapton wrote love letters to Pattie Boyd, and he was mad for it. And I think his excuse for this was that he knew that George was having dalliances with lots of other women behind her back, so he didn't feel like he was really doing anything too bad to be going after George's wife. I think that's basically how he justified it. And then in the end, she did leave George Harrison for him, and they did stay mates.
I'm just having a look. She's 81 now.
Yeah, she's in there. She can only happen. Did you know Pattie Boyd did a really funny tweet? I think it was last year. There was one of these things on Twitter, one of these rock accounts on Twitter where they ask people questions to, clickbait questions. What's your favourite album or whatever? And the question that they asked, or the Beatles or the Stones, or do you prefer Zeppelin or Black Sabbath? The question on this one was George Harrison or Eric Clapton, and Patty Boyd retweeted it and commented, "Now there's a question," which I thought was very funny. But,
I mean, she was married to both of them for about the same amount of time, about 11 years.
Yeah.
So,
But the Layla album
1944.
is believed to be inspired by Clapton's basically being besotted with Patty Boyd, and
Patty Boyd.
the Layla character comes into, I don't know where it comes into, some literature. I can't remember where it comes from now, but he obviously saw this story as being symbolic of him and Patty.
Yeah.
Which is why he covered songs like "Have You Ever Loved a Woman" on this album, and wrote quite a few of his own on here. It's a really good album. I'll tell you what it's like. It reminds me, in a way, production-wise, of Exile and Main Street by the Stones.
Yeah,
in that
yeah.
It's not the clearest hi-fi production. It's a little bit. It's got a little bit of a murky edge to it, but that's kind of what gives it.
I'm going to put it into my list of things that I need to buy.
Gives it that kind of edge. If you could get a 70s pressing of it, that would be cool to have.
Let's have a look. See how much I can get one.
I would imagine it must be quite expensive.
Derek, Layla and Assorted Love Songs. Now, bear in mind, Philster, just before the countdown started, you said, "Oh, I don't think we've got anything to talk about. Not been really listening to a lot of music this week." We have found quite a lot to talk about.
I would imagine. I suppose it was a successful album, so I suppose it probably sold quite a lot. So there's probably quite a lot of copies in circulation, but obviously a lot of those copies would have been bought by people who didn't look after them. So
yeah, let's have a look. The double album copies, Gatefold. That's from £26. That's the 1970 release. The 1970, because obviously these are different. Let's go for, when was the reissue from 1977 is £13. From 1987, £13. Unknown Year re-release, £7 is the most it sold for. That is. It came out in 2011 on a re-released vinyl.
That was
£33.
That was the 40th anniversary.
Yeah. So yeah, you're looking about 30, somewhere between 13 and however much, because obviously that's the lowest price in there. So there might be one in there that is. Oh, they re-released it in 1982 as well. That's £13, the cheapest one. So I don't know what condition that's in, but I'm going to put it into my watch list.
I mean, one of the selling points of the album is that it features twin guitars. It's Clapton and Dwayne Allman from the Allman Brothers. Yeah, so that's. I mean, you've got Jim Gordon on drums and Bobby Whitlock on keyboards, and so it's a real stellar cast of musicians.
A myriad of.
The link to Phil Collins, by the way, if you wanted to link to Phil Collins, the Derek and the Dominos band was sort of started with the George Harrison album, that All Things Must Pass. Phil Collins actually appeared on that George Harrison album. I think he played some bongos or something on one of the songs.
Did he?
And he wasn't credited. He wasn't credited originally, but when they did the anniversary edition of that album during George Harrison's lifetime, George Harrison put a little note in there acknowledging Phil Collins. And George Harrison himself couldn't remember that Phil Collins had been on the album, but it was documented.
Oh, really? I'm just having a look down.
He put a late acknowledgement.
Contributing musicians. Bobby Whitlock, Jim Gordon, Bobby Keys, Jim Pratt.
You're looking at All Things Must Pass.
Yeah. And what?
Yeah, I can't remember which song.
Peter Frampton. Yeah, there's lots of people on there.
There was lots of them. Here we go. In and out and had a little bits on it.
Pre-Genesis, Phil Collins played congas at a session of Art of Dying.
That would be the one, because that's got a bongo-y type drum.
Harrison gave him a credit on the 30th anniversary reissue of the album, but Collins' playing does not appear on the track.
It's not on it, okay.
Unsubstantiated claims exist regarding guest appearances by John Lennon, Maurice Gibb, and Pink Floyd's Richard Wright.
You say it's all believable because they could have been at Abbey, because he did that album at Abbey Road, didn't he? I think sure
Yeah,
he did.
yeah,
So all those people could have been there and popped in and out. So it's all quite believable that
yeah,
they
yeah.
would be on it.
I tell you what, we have spent the last 40 minutes left turning, left turning, left turning. We started off with a big statement, and we've ended. Oh, well, I think we've ended with George Harrison and Phil Collins. Who would have thought?
And we've been talking for 40 minutes.
I know, I know.
Viewer,
If you've reached this far,
if you reach
you
this
might as well
far,
stay to the end.
once it's done. And in the words of the Doors,
Yes.
this is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end. Join us for another edition at some point in the future. Thanks for watching.
Possibly.
Goodbye.